in search of a way out of world determinism. Christian Deluge. Dear brothers and sisters, in the distant past, we discovered mysterious artifacts that should never have been found because they are as if not made by human hands. So strange for us. Cleopatra's new artifact has terrified scientists. Could this discovery change the whole story? At the beginning of the third millennium of human civilization, we discovering the fascinating world of science, technology, and the universe with enthusiasts. From the inner working of the human body to the outer reaches of the cosmos, we delve into the latest and most exciting discovery shaping our world. Our knowledge of the cosmos is an ever-expanding quest, with new theories and old myths being uncovered every day. But we have more definitive ways of understanding the universe thanks to telescopes and spacecraft like the Voyagers. They are giving us new information about the outer reaches of the cosmos, what is on the verge of the cosmos. So when a key spacecraft like Voyager sees unprecedented data suggesting new information, new discoveries, everything changes. But what has Voyager just discovered at the edge of our solar system, and what does that mean for us here on Earth? Join us as we investigate how Voyager just entered space and sent some chilling news. However, we should not forget that many other technical devices are currently in galactic service, such as the Martian rover Perseverance. However, we should not forget that many other technical devices are currently in galactic service, such as the, as I said, Martian rover Perseverance, and new possibilities to discoveries life. Mars was similar in its history to Earth. There was water and maybe life. Fans even believe that life on Earth migrated from Mars. Forbidden in the Bible, the book of Enoch reveals the shocking secrets of our earthly history. And now a man made land crafts looking for clues on the reddish shimmering surface of a celestial body that should help us understand our planetary neighbor better than ever. Mars has a history. We're not alone. Only on Earth have we discovered possible evidence of powerful civilizations. Is everything settled? Do we live in a super-deterministic universe? Scientists have just detected a huge structure 60 times the size of the Milky Way. James Webb discovers a galaxy that could fundamentally change physics. We were wrong. James Webb Telescope proved the Big Bang Theory wrong. The galloping expansion of the universe has been stopped by a different history of the oldest object in the cosmos. Neighboring galaxies far more different from each other in the age of the formation. We see man with his microscopic influence on the cosmos. NASA said. NASA also captured the most terrifying signals from space. Are they aliens? Unfortunately, we do not have contact with strangers. Is that why we alone? The Fermi paradox reveals a stark contradiction between high estimates of the probability of extraterrestrial civilizations and the lack of any observable evidence of their existence. The age of the universe and the number of stars it contains suggests that extraterrestrial life should be commonplace. I would mention here the presentation of the Arecibo message from the 17th years last century. Humanity's first attempt to communicate with aliens. Appropriate listening has been going on for several decades, mainly under the aegis of the SETI organization. So far, no indisputably artificial emission has been detected, although a number of individual signals are likely to be such. Example, WOW signal received in 1977. Extrasolar planets are rarely observed directly. The first such observation was made in 2005. Their existence is usually detected indirectly by studying the influence of this planet on the behavior of the host star. Current technology does not provide any means of searching the most likely places where such probes could be located. The asteroid belt, the Kuiper belt, or the Oort cloud. Some attempts have been made to find them, as well as to activate or summon the so-called the Praise well probes. So far, they have not yielded any result. These studies are considered to be on the fringe of the SETI field and do not generate as much interest as radio studies. The latter have developed a lot in my lifetime. Communication devices based on advanced nanotechnology can operate even at the present moment completely undetectable for humans. In 1959, Dr. Freeman Dyson noticed that the development of humanity is associated with a constantly increasing demand for energy, which theoretically could lead to a situation when humanity will need all the energy generated by the sun, our star. A Dyson sphere is a thought experiment to answer the question of how this energy can be obtained by building a giant shell or cloud of devices that surrounds an entire star. Such a construction would drastically transform the sun spectrum, changing the heights, energetic photons to less energetic ones. Example, infrared. Dyson speculated that advanced civilization could be detected by searching for stars with no standard spectra. The emergence of intelligence can only be an evolutionary accident resulting from pathological sexual selection. Another scientist, David Brin, suggests that the evolution of beings like this, with hands and fire and stuff like that, may be very rare in our galaxy. There may be many life-giving planets, reminiscent of Polynesia and at most. They could be inhabited by intelligent life forms by only similar to terrestrial dolphins, whales, or squids. The simplest explanation is that humanity is indeed the only civilization in the Milky Way. Here are some theories as to why this might be. Aliens. and they never existed, because nature itself destroys complex life, because intelligent life destroys itself, because intelligent life destroys competition. We are heading towards the end of eternity. Could it be that the aliens are too far away to communicate with them? Are there arguments for the isolation of human civilization because civilizations are too short, because civilizations have not yet risen, because it is too expensive to spread beyond our own planetary system? Let us note here the fact that although the physics known to us precluded the possibility of traveling at the speed of light, but does not exclude the use of wormholes. Traveling at lower speed seems feasible. See von Neumann probes. Probably people haven't been looking long enough yet. Even if aliens were lucky enough to land on Earth in historical times, probably only stories about some supernatural beings would survive to modern times, which could have started religions, such as according to the theory of Erich von Däniken. The first radio telescope was built in 1937. Our entire civilization is only a few thousand years old, which is a blink of an eye on a cosmological scale. The aliens have yet to respond. Artificial radio signals have been emitted from the Earth's surface since 1895. This means that so far only intelligences closer to 55 light years away could detect these signals and send a response back to Earth. People don't seem to be listening properly. SETI programs rely on certain assumptions that limit the class of signals they can receive. Thus, civilizations only send out radio signals for a short time. Currently, radio signal solutions are being abandoned in favor of cables, fiber optics, microwave, and laser communication. New solutions using radio, such as mobile phones and Wi-Fi networks, use low-energy, short-range transmissions. Television, which uses strong signal, is probably the easiest to detect from nearby stars. Replacing it with digital television using a wideband and a much weaker carrier wave may cause the earthly visibility in the radio spectrum to decrease significantly in the coming decades. Or maybe they are all reaching the level of technological singularity, and the radio technology we use is too primitive. For example, signals perceived only by a few people may be perceived as symptoms of mental illness rather than actual contact. Such phenomena could also be recorded in religious texts as apparitions of the Holy Mary, of the angels, visit of angels and demons, miracles attributed to them, and supernatural and natural abilities. Based on the hypothesis that the human brain uses quantum phenomena in its operation as suggested, for example, by Roger Penrose, it can be concluded that it is possible to receive signals in a non-local way using quantum entanglement. See also quantum teleportation and quantum cryptology. Some speculate that some cases of mystics, shamans, of schizophrenics are the result of more or less distorted communication, or maybe the aliens chose not to communicate, or the Earth was specially isolated. Spacor hypothesis. Other are to alien, see Solari novel by Stanisław Lem. or remain invisible to people, hiding their presence. Or maybe we find it difficult to contact them because this communication is dangerous or because people themselves hide them. There are a number of conspiracy theories that governments are covering up alien discovery, contact, and presence on Earth. Examples are the theories about Area 51 and the Roswell incident. People involved in ufology have repeatedly demanded that the United States government disclose the alleged evidence. See Drake's equation for estimating the number of civilizations. Let me talk here about the importance of religion in terms of contact with strangers and about the end of the world. Beneficial religions are continued due to the short age of human civilization. So many von Däniken religions will pay for centuries to come for our contact with aliens. Däniken said. All religion talk about the end of the world, a potential variously imagined process of the end of the world. It is commonly associated with science, philosophy, religion, and culture. For the years 375-400, the date of the end of the world was set by Saint Martin of Tours. In the year 992, according to one theory, Good Friday fell on the feast of the Annunciation of the Holy Mary. Biblical Christian tradition based on the book of Revelation held that this marks the beginning of the Antichrist reign. 1412 year, end of the world according to St. Vincent of Ferrara. February 20, 1524, announcement of a universal flood by Johannes Steffler. December 21, 2012, was the last day listed in the Mayan calendar. According to some interpretations, example by Patrick Gerrill, it was then that the end of the world was to take place. Nowadays, Malachi prophecy is in fashion. A list of 112 short Latin sentences intended to describe all popes as well as some anti-popes, starting with Celestine II, elected in 1143. The prophecy is based on visions that the Saint Malachi allegedly suffered while in Rome in 1139, where he was staying at the invitation of Pope Innocent II. He described his visions in short, quotes sentences. Malachi's manuscript, Lignum Vitae in Latin, 1595, is said to have been deposited by Pope Innocent II in the Vatican library and forgotten for 400 years. The prophecy probably originated in 1590 and, as a possible forgery, was supposed to lead to the election of the desired candidate for the position of Pope. The last person in Malachi's prophecy is Peter the Roman from Rome, whose pontificate will end with the destruction of Rome. The slogans there are different. Pastor Angelicus, Pius XII, Pastor and Nauta, John 20, the 23rd, Flores Florum, Paul VI, the Medietate Lune, John Paul I, the Labore Solis, John Paul II, Gloria Olive, Benedict XVI. The last, longest password is, during the worst persecution of the Holy Roman Church, Peter the Roman will sit on that throne. who will shepherd the sheep during many tribulations, after which the city of 7 hills, Rome, will be destroyed, and the terrible judge will judge his people. The end. Due to the election of Pope Francis as the successor of the Benedict XVI, described as Gloria Olive, and the fact that it is Petrus Romanus is next to Gloria Olive, and at the same time the last entry on Malachi's list, this suggests that this pope is to be the last pope before the end of the world. Meanwhile, the Nobel Prize winner from Poland, Czesław Miłosz, wrote, "There will be no other end of the world." Close end. Quote ends. Miłosz's song about the end of the world can be interpreted as a morally play. The end of the world happens every moment. The final judgment is judged by our every act and choice of ours. Another Polish poet, John Kasprowicz, in the work Dies Irae, expresses an expressionist but religious version of the end time by Tim LeAye and Jerry Jenkins shows one of the end of the world scenarios based on the Bible, trying to explain what the end of the universe will look like. This hypothesis posits that as the force causing the universe to expand grows stronger, everything from galaxies to atoms will eventually be torn apart. If the density of dark energy is constant, the universe will avoid the dramatic Big Rip, Great Rip theory. But when dark energy would increase, then galaxies, stars, planets, and even atoms would be torn apart. But there may be another drama, great crash. If the amount of matter is large enough to gravitationally stop the expansion and then lead to the collapse of the universe, reversing the stages of its evolution until all the forces ruling the cosmos are again combined into one size. The temperature will then rise with increasing density, a return to the singularity. This possibility is currently ruled out based on the observational facts, such as the increasing rate of expansion of the universe. There is a theory of the great cold in the universe. If the amount of matter is too small for gravitational forces to stop the expansion, then the universe will expand forever and faster if the cosmological constant has a positive value, and its temperature will drop. One scenario says that in 10 trillion years, long after the sun and star like it have burned out, the cosmos will be filled with a large, albeit dwindling number of red dwarfs. In 1 trillion years from now, the only stellar remnants will be objects such as black holes, neutron stars, and cooled white and brown dwarfs. Black holes will devour everything, but even they will disappear, gradually evaporating. See Hawking radiation. This process will take in the future. Later, the universe will be filled only with the electrons, positrons, neutrinos, and photons on every low concentration. According to yet another concept, the end of the known world may occur with the release of vacuum energy. Many observations indicate that the universe has a no-zero vacuum energy. If there is a low energy vacuum state, then the universe is in a false vacuum state, and tunneling to a lower state may occur. This will involve changing some physical constant, Example, the masses of many particles. There will also be an end on the universe to the universe as we know it, because, for example, atoms may become unstable. And now I am even more fascinated by the images of the Last Judgment and the interpretation of Hans Memling and Michelangelo. Images of the Last Judgment. False prophets will pretend to be the anointed one, like Messiah, but Christians should not be deceived. Example, because lightning, when it flashes, it shines from one end of the horizon to the other. That's how Jesus Christ will come. Jesus Christ will come again in glory, Catholicism says. He will descend from heaven to earth on the clouds of heaven with the angels of his power. He will send his angels with a loud trumpet, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other ones. Then those who belong to Christ will be resurrected. The end will not come. He will even sit in the temple of God, claiming to be God. His appearance will be accompanied by the work of Satan, with all power, signs, and false wonders. Jesus will slay the Antichrist with the breath of his mouth and destroy him with the revelation of his coming. After the 1,000 years reign of Christ, Satan and all who will be damned will be cast into the lake of fire. The heavens will pass away with a crack, and the fiery elements will melt. The earth and the works of men on it will burn up. In the Catholic view, the end of the world is associated with the parousia in Latin. There are usually 5 prodromes or signs preceding the parousia: the awakening of the faith, the apostasy, the coming of the Antichrist, the proclamation of the gospel to all nations, and the conversion of Israel. Traditionally, the parousia was associated with the closing of world history, which was reflected in the Constantinopolitan symbol of eternal life in the world to come. In the 20th century, there was a change in the understanding of the end of the world in Catholic theology. Hence, the end of the world is understood rather as its transformation, that is, the emergence of a new cosmic order destined for a renewed man. On the basis of the New Testament, there are new conclusions that the new cosmic new heaven and new earth mentioned in the Apocalypse of St. John are already being formed under the influence of the Holy Spirit, and the place of future happiness of people can be in the new earth filled with God's presence, not in distant heaven. Jehovah's Witnesses believe place of future happiness of people can be in the new field. Believe that the end of the world does not refer to the destruction of the earth of humanity, but marks the end of the present social structure, a characteristic state, system, or order in human history, the end of the system of things. See 1 John chapter 2, verse 17. The Bible does not give a date, but Jesus did provide a complex sign, a series of events that show the approach of the end, a period called the time of the end, or the last days. Matthew chapter 24, verse 3, And 2 Timothy chapter 3, the Great Tribulation is a series of events leading to the destruction of the present world order, culminating in Armageddon, the war of the great day of God Almighty, Revelation chapter 16, verse 14. It will be a selective destruction of only those who disobey Jehovah's God on earth, and those who survive will live on earth under God's kingdom and ultimately in paradise on earth forever. And now, according to Muslim, the end of the world will be heralded by the Antichrist, who came to earth with one eye and a mark on his forehead that only believers recognize. Then Gog and Magog, Yajuj and Majuj, terrible creatures, will start to destroy food and water supplies. Various misfortunes and cataclysms will appear on earth. Earthquakes, fires, natural disasters, terror, chaos, and wars will prevail. All people will be struck by lightning, except God's chosen ones. Every soul will be judged justly. Then whoever believes and does good will have no fear or sorrow. And those who have lied about our signs will be punished for having spread corruption. Quran, etc. Unbelievers will be driven to hell, from where there is no turning back. Those who have been faithful will be led to Jannah, the garden of God, to praise Him forever and contemplate the truth about Him. The states of hell and heaven will also have a physical character experienced not only by the soul but also by the body. On decoratively embroidered beds, stretched out, propped up on elbows, facing each other, among them circulate immortal youths with bowls, jugs, and chalices filled with the drink of a flowing spring, from which they do not suffer headaches or get intoxicated. And they will be in the scorching breeze and boiling water, shadowed by black smoke, neither refreshing nor benevolent. Now, Buddhism teaches that everything is subject to impermanence, both sentient beings and the world they resided, which are called samsara. The existence of samsara is conditioned by the law of cause and effect, karma, see karma, affecting the fate of beings residing in it. Traditional teaching, which are sometimes identified with the Hinayana view, describe that the end of the world will proceed in stages. Sphere of desire, which includes the lands of hell, hungry ghosts, preta, people and animals, as well as demigods and gods. Then the places where the gods of the regular sphere live will be destroyed, and finally the place of the gods of the formless sphere. However, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and Arhats outside of samsara will not undergo this process due to state of nirvana. Moreover, it is described that there are many worlds that have periods of deformation, duration, and dissolution, when the appropriate conditions exist in accordance with the collective law of cause and effect karma of sentient beings. Between the existence of these worlds, there are dark periods of non-existence, when, due to the lack of appropriate cause and effect conditions, there is only potential for their development. The current period of our world's existence is traditionally called in Buddhism as very auspicious, because 1,000 fully enlightened beings, i.e. Buddhas, will appear in it, and the historical and current Buddha is Shakyamuni, born in India, the fourth in the order of these Buddhas. From the point of view of the Mahayana teaching, for example, according to the views of Chittamatra and Madhyamaka, this dualistic division into sentient beings and the worlds in which they reside, or more precisely, the process that everyone will have to undergo as successive subtle levels of dissolution and states of presence until the state of the clear light. If the clear light is not recognized, there will be no liberation, and one will be subjected to the intermediate bardo state, in which, according to the law of the 12 links of interdependent origination, there is a reconditioning with dualistic identity. I am ignorance, experiencing the impermanence of the I and the world in which the I is staying. At the end, finally, see Judaism. Due to its specificity, the Torah mentions little about the end of the world, for this implies dealing with ultimate matters in the context of individual people, while Judaism is concerned rather with the history of the chosen people and what concern current affairs. However, there are fragments that describe this process, although it was the Talmudic world. What do you have of the day of the Lord? His darkness, not light. See Amos chapter 5, verse 18. When the end of the world comes, the Messiah world. The Messiah will have to fight the army of Gog and Magog. The chief of this army will be brought to Mount Sinai and tried and then executed. The earth will be cleansed of all evil, and a pure and holy house will be built for the Lord and his subjects. See Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39. In Scandinavian theory, mythology, the end of the world, and with it the twilight of the gods, was referred to as Ragnarok. In mythology, it is supposed to be a great fight between gods and giants led by Loki, as a result of which the world and Asgard, the seat of the gods, will be consumed by fire. All the stars will go out, and the earth will be flooded by a great sea. All the more the world needs a deluge of the greatest human values. Faith, I ponder, I strongly believe. Hope and love. Ultimately, it is from these depths that it will be emerge from these depths, and the era of happiness without violence, and wars will come, which I wish to you and for myself.